Look around you. No, I mean it. Look around yourself. Look at the things you do have. Look at the things you don't. Look at yourself as objectively as you can, just for a second. Look at the good things about you. Look at the bad things about you. All of these things, everything about your life, everything in your life, every single aspect of your life is a direct result of hundreds of thousands of choices that you have made. You see, you make about 35,000 decisions every single day. And every single one of them, from the second you wake up, starts directing, starts moving in one direction or the other, starts charting a course for the rest of your day, just as much as it does for the rest of your life. Did that sound a tad bit dramatic? Let me explain myself. You see, you make your first decision of the day before you're even fully conscious. The second you hear your alarm ringing in your dreams, first thing in the morning, do you choose to jump right out of bed, or do you turn off your alarm and go back to sleep? Or do you make one of the other 100 choices between these two extremes? In fact, you make your first decision of the day before the day even begins. You make your first decision of the day on the previous night. Do you choose to go to sleep on time and set the alarm for a reasonable hour, or do you spend the entire night binging your favorite show and not even set an alarm in the first place? Or do you make one of the other 100 choices between these two extremes? So now you understand that every step of the way, every choice that you make, you are choosing between hundreds of choices that you could have made. And what I am trying to tell you is that just like you can, just by moving the wheel of a ship by 1 degree, you can drastically alter the course of the ship. Just like that, these choices that you make, every single choice will start moving, will start shaping the course of not just your day, but also your entire life in one direction or the other. Let me explain. Let's look at this from the perspective, from the smallest perspective possible. Not even that of an entire day, but just the impact of a singular decision. Let's take the example that we talked about before, the first decision that you make for the day on the previous night. For the sake of easy reference, let's name each of these scenarios. Let's call the first scenario, where you sleep on time and you set the alarm for 5 a.m., as scenario A, and the other one as scenario B. Now, scenario A further breaks down into scenario C and D, the best case and the worst case scenario, respectively. Scenario C is that you wake up at 5 a.m. and you jump right out of bed, ready to conquer the day. You get an early start on the day. Scenario D, the worst case scenario, is that you wake up at 5 but you turn off the alarm and go back to sleep, and let's say you wake up at 6 a.m. B further breaks down into E and F, the best case and the worst case scenarios, respectively. Best case, very unlikely, but even though you didn't set an alarm, let's say you wake up at 7 a.m. Worst case scenario, the more likely one, you wake up somewhere around 9 a.m. Something fascinating is already starting to emerge over here. Let's compare scenario D and E. You see, D was where you made the worst choice after making the best choice, and E was where you made the best choice after making the worst choice. But you see, it's not like they cancel out, because both of the times you're making one best and one worst choice. Regardless of the fact that later on you made the worst choice with scenario D, you're still better off by a whole hour. And this was the impact of just a singular decision played out one turn. And on top of that, we were comparing similar cases where it was a best followed by a worst compared to a worst followed by a best. Let's now look at the difference that continuous best decisions versus continuous worst decisions would lead to. Let's see how that would turn out. Let's assume you make the perfect choice every step of the way. What would that look like? You go to sleep on time, set the alarm for 5 a.m. You wake up at 5 a.m., jump right out of bed, go and get freshened up within the next 20 minutes, and spend the next entire hour meditating, stretching, journaling, and gratitude journaling. You spend the next 40 minutes with your family or with whoever you live with, and finally sit down on your table to get started with your deep work at 7 a.m. For the next 2 hours, you do not see anything else, you do not know anything else, you do not think of anything else but of the task at hand. With 100% focused undistracted, unwavering attention. You get done with a major portion of your day's work within these 2 hours. At the end of which, you start to feel a little tired, you start to feel a little fatigued, you notice your efficiency starting to drop a little, and you drop your work, head straight to the gym. 9 to 10:30 a.m., you have an amazing workout. You put on your favorite songs, you vibe the fuck out to them, you set a couple of PRs, and leave the gym proud of the workout you just had. Within the next half an hour, you come back from the gym and get freshened up. And at 11, you sit down to read for an hour. Let's stop at noon now and see how the day could have turned out if we made the opposite choices. You binged your favorite show for the entire night and finally went to sleep at 1. You woke up at 9, you grabbed your phone as soon as you woke up and kept lying on your bed and scrolling for the next 30 minutes. Finally, you get up, you head to the washroom with your phone in your hand, and you brush your teeth, scrolling through your phone. You take a shit, scrolling through your phone. You wash your face, listening to what you were scrolling through on your phone, and spend another 30 minutes in the washroom. It's 10 by the time you finally come out, but you can't decide on what to get started with. So you figure you just grab some breakfast, get done with it in 15 minutes, and then get started with your day. You grab some cereal for breakfast, and of course, you open up YouTube to watch something while you're eating. Before you know it, an entire hour's passed and breakfast had finished ages ago. Now, you've just had a carbohydrate-heavy meal. So of course you feel a little tired, of course you feel a little lethargic. You promise yourself that you'll get started in just another 10 minutes and continue sitting on your phone. Maybe you scroll through Instagram, maybe you open up YouTube, maybe you start watching something on Netflix, maybe you open up a video game. Whatever it is, you finally wake up at 12 and ask yourself, wait, where did my entire morning go? To summarize, in scenario 1, you got done with meditation, stretching, journaling, gratitude journaling, spending time with your family, a major portion of your day's work, gym, and an hour of reading by noon. In scenario 2, you got done with watching multiple hours of YouTube, maybe something on Netflix, scrolling through Instagram and playing video games by noon. Do you see how the gap widens? With every right or wrong choice that you make, the gap between how your day is eventually going to turn out, do you see how massive that difference turns out to be? That was point number 1. Coming to point number 2, let's revisit the example that we talked about earlier, where we made a good choice followed by a bad choice versus a bad choice followed by a good choice. Most people fail to understand that our decisions do not operate in a vacuum. The decisions that we make operate in an ecosystem. Every next decision of yours is influenced by your previous decision. In fact, even the choices that you have right now are influenced, are decided, are determined by the choices that you made previously. We saw this in our example that when you binged for the entire night and didn't set an alarm in the first place, the best case scenario was that you wake up at 7 a.m. You didn't even have the choice to do better. Looking at this example, I understand that it might seem like 2 hours is not a big deal, but look at this from a zoomed out perspective. The second example that we talked about, we saw the gap widening up to noon. Look at it from the entire day's perspective. Zoom out more. Look at it from a week's perspective. Look at it from a month's perspective. Look at it from, let's not even go to a year. That would be out of your scope of comprehension. That is, we cannot imagine how good our life can get in just a couple of months. For just 2 months, if you made the right choice, imagine how far the gap would widen, where your life was going and where you potentially can take it just by making the correct choices for a month, for 2 months. I want you to ingrain this concept in your brain that your tomorrow is 100% going to be decided by how you choose to spend your today, by the decisions that you make today. Today, I absolutely love my life. I love every second of my days. I love doing what I do. I love making these videos. I love spending major portions of my day ideating and deciding what I want to say. I love recording. I love waking up every morning and the first thought in my mind being, okay, what do I have to do? How do I make progress towards my YouTube channel? How do I do better today? But the only reason I even have the choice to do this in the first place is because 6 months ago, younger Sahaj decided that he was going to do this. He knew that he fucking sucked at this, man. I recorded my first video and I looked at it and I was like, yo, if there's one thing I know that I can't do, it's this. I had never seen myself suck at anything as bad as I sucked at making videos. But I decided to stick with it. I decided to see it through. I decided to out endure it. I decided to keep making terrible, pathetic, to keep making videos that I absolutely hated and keep putting them out because I trusted the process. I knew that I would get better. Here's a real life example for you. I started my YouTube channel about 6 months ago. I stayed consistent with it all this time. At that point, I made the perfect choice that I could have made. A good choice would have been to say that, okay, I suck at this, but I'll keep making videos, but I won't upload them. So when I get good at it, I'll start uploading. A bad choice would have been to say, okay, I suck at this, I give up, I'm not going to do it. So I made the perfect choice at that point. I kept it going, stayed consistent with it. Let's say something happens tomorrow. Let's say something happens that makes me relapse bad, that makes me relapse hard. I just can't be asked to do this self-improvement shit anymore, and I start indulging in instant gratification fully. From the second I wake up, I'm on my phone, either watching TV or watching something on my Mac or scrolling through my phone the entire day from morning to night. Let's say I do this for an entire week. Even better, let's say I do this for 2 whole weeks. Not an ounce of productivity, nothing good, only instant gratification morning to night. How bad would I be? Of course, it wouldn't be a good situation, but I have like 5-6 videos scheduled, ready to go. I have put in all of this time. I decided to start this channel 6 months ago, and that is why I will still have, at the end of those 2 weeks of instant gratification, I still will have that channel. I will still keep uploading the videos consistently. So even if I somehow make the worst possible choice that I possibly can make for 14 days straight, for 14 days in a row, I would still be better off than if I'd just not made that perfect choice 6 months ago. If I'd made the worst choice and said, fuck it, I can't do this. Let's say I get addicted to junk food again. Let's say I start gorging on junk food, on chips, on ice cream, on fast food every single day, 3 times a day. How bad would I be 1 week in? I would still probably retain my six-pack. I would still have this massive fucking body that I've built over these multiple years. I would still be million times better off if I had not even started gymming in the first place. I could give you these examples all day. Ingrain this in your brain. Your life today is a direct result of the hundreds of thousands of choices that you have made. Your life tomorrow is going to be a direct result of the choices that you make today. So make some good choices, man. Make some good choices and set your future self up for a better tomorrow. I wish you guys all the best with everything, and I'll see you in the next one.